I was born here in El Paso, Texas, but I always tell folks I was born here and raised everywhere else. My papa was in the Marine Corps. So I was born here and immediately we moved to South Carolina, and I've lived in South Carolina, Hawaii, Arizona, California, Hawaii, all over the place up until I was about 15 and we came home. When I got out of the Army in 2010, I got out on a medical discharge because I got hurt. And nobody would hire a disabled veteran. So for a whole year, I couldn't find work. In 2011, I went back to school to study at UTEP to be a graphic designer, and I hated it. But in that process of pursuing my BFA, I found ceramics, changed my major almost immediately, and the rest is history. In art, I would say from a very young age, I used to draw and doodle, and then I learned how to paint by watching Bob Ross. Bob Ross was my hero. This is my studio here. This is PJ Romero Artworks, ceramic studio, and I've been here for 2 years, and I've been here for 2 years. Studied at UTEP, became the TA for the ceramics department for 5 years until that led me getting a job at the El Paso Museum of Art, where I taught there for 5 years until the pandemic hit. Then the city shut down and I was deemed non-essential. I know, it's a heartbreak. And so I was unemployed for a whole year. And then I went back to, I thought, as the city began to open up, I decided I should open up my own place. I see all kinds of levels of experience, from beginners, intermediate, and advanced. Well, this is a can-do studio space, you know, so I try my best to be compassionate and understanding, and come to my students with kid gloves sometimes and help. But I'm a little heavy-handed sometimes, so oftentimes people come in here and they'll say, "What's this? I don't think that I can do that." And I said, "Okay, well, then I guess we're done." And like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, if you made up your mind, you're done. This is a can-do studio space. If you can't, then go somewhere else. Here you can. I acknowledge it's difficult, but we're gonna do it." And so I always talk about how this is a can-do space, because we do work here. Where do I get my inspiration from? So I had a professor at UTEP who told me that my work was boring. And it really affected me for a very long time, until I went to a residency and I spoke to another instructor, and I was kind of down on myself. "Why don't you like it?" I said, "Well, I had a professor who told me that my work was boring." And he goes, "Well, I don't think of it as boring. I think of it as peaceful." And he says, "Of course you're looking for peace. Aren't you a veteran?" I was like, "Yeah, I went to Iraq twice." He goes, "So then you're looking for peace." And I was like, "Whoa, holy crap, you're right. I'm looking for peace." They return because of the therapeutic value that happens here. And what I love about that is that they say it. Ceramics is so therapeutic. What I love about ceramics is it causes you to have to be here now. You have to be right here, working on this piece right now, and nothing else matters. I love the idea of getting in the wheel and being able to mold this clay, as there's all this chaos happening. If you're in the wheel, if you've ever done pottery and you sat at the wheel the first time and the clay's moving you and the clay's pulling you and you're trying to center, and it's all over. And then once you find peace and you find center, the clay just comes together and it's very smooth. And if you move with intention and very slowly, that clay starts to form, and you form this bowl, and it's moving. It's still chaos, but it's organized chaos. That's what I love about it. I believe that ceramics will help individuals find their identity, because, like I say, it causes you to have to be here now. You can't pretend to be somebody else. You can't be big and famous. You're just muddy all the time when you're in here. And it's going to help you recognize and remember who you are. I love this quote, right? Do you remember who you were before society told you who you needed to be? That's what you do. That's what you are when you're sitting here full of mud in your hands, because it's so primal. It reminds you when you're a little kid and you play in the, at least when I was a little kid, and I would play in the mud and make rivers and let the water flow, and it'd be muddy. And my mom would get mad at me, but it was so much fun. And that's what we're doing here. You know, it's so primal. It helps you remember who you were, so that you can remind yourself who you are.